Cheese. Just hearing the word is enough to evoke a rich, creamy flavor in the minds of many. It's a beloved part of countless dishes around the world, from melted slices on a hot pizza to a sprinkle of Parmesan over a bowl of pasta, or a delicate piece paired with fruit and a glass of wine. Cheese is often praised as a luxurious and nutritious food, a rich source of calcium and protein. And perhaps you're one of those who love it. Maybe you add a slice of cheese to your morning sandwich, or enjoy a few cubes as a quick snack. You do so with the idea that you're feeding your body calcium for strong bones and protein for healthy muscles, nutrients that become increasingly important as we grow older, especially past the age of 60. But there's a more complicated truth that the food industry and mainstream health advice don't often talk about. What if I told you that not all cheese is created equal? That some of the most popular cheeses, widely sold and consumed every day, might be quietly undermining your health from the inside out? What if I told you that some of the cheese products you eat regularly aren't even real cheese, but highly processed industrial foods, loaded with unhealthy fats, enormous amounts of sodium, and a cocktail of additives, preservatives, and artificial colorings? And what if I said that even with real cheese, choosing the wrong type could still lead to inflammation, burden your heart, and cancel out many of the health benefits you thought you were getting? The issue isn't with cheese itself, a nutrient-dense, fermented food with thousands of years of culinary tradition. The issue lies in how cheese is manufactured today, and in our lack of awareness when it comes to choosing wisely. After age 60, your body becomes more sensitive to sodium, saturated fats, and inflammatory ingredients. A single slice of some commercial cheeses can contain as much salt as an entire bag of salty snacks. Some smooth, creamy cheeses may be filled with cheap vegetable oils, emulsifiers, and other industrial agents. Have you ever felt slightly bloated or sluggish after eating a rich, cheesy dish? Or perhaps you've been struggling with high blood pressure or cholesterol despite your efforts to eat well. The type of cheese you're choosing may be part of the answer. That's exactly why this video was made. We're about to step into the complex and fascinating world of cheese. I'll take you through 10 common and potentially harmful mistakes people make when eating cheese. Mistakes that can turn a health-promoting food into a subtle threat. But more importantly, I'll show you how to spot and choose the right kinds of cheese, the ones that truly nourish your bones, support your gut, and help protect your heart. Stay with me until the end, because this knowledge will empower you to become a smarter, more intentional consumer. Someone who enjoys cheese in a way that is both satisfying and safe, without being fooled by misleading labels or marketing hype.
Now, let's get to the heart of our video. Together, we'll decode the cheeses that are likely sitting right now in your refrigerator, so you can clearly see which ones are quietly harming your health and which ones are truly nourishing your body. Let's begin with mistake number 10, a mistake rooted in common perception and convenience, tied to one of the most popular breakfast cheeses of all. Mistake number 10, using cream cheese as a daily source of calcium and protein. Let's start with a cheese that's become almost a breakfast icon. Think about butter-smooth spreads on bagels, thick slices of cheesecake, or a creamy layer on toasted bread. Cream cheese is a kitchen staple for many. With its soft texture and slightly tangy taste, it seems like a comforting and even wholesome choice. Many people use cream cheese assuming it's just another dairy product, naturally rich in calcium and protein, right? Something that should, in theory, help strengthen your bones or maintain muscle mass, especially important as we age. But that assumption is misleading and nutritionally costly. Cream cheese, despite its name, doesn't deliver the nourishing punch you might expect. What it does provide is a lot of calories and fat, but surprisingly little of the building blocks your body actually needs. The issue lies in how cream cheese is made. True to its name, it's primarily made from milk and cream, the richest, fattiest part of the milk. While this makes for a luscious texture, it also means high saturated fat content and very low levels of protein and calcium compared to most other cheeses. Let's break down the numbers. Just 2 tablespoons, about 28 grams of regular cream cheese can contain around 100 calories and 10 grams of fat, much of it saturated, but you're getting only 2 grams of protein in return. For comparison, the same amount of cottage cheese can deliver up to 6 or 7 grams of protein, and a slice of Swiss cheese will give you significantly more calcium. For older adults, preserving lean muscle and maintaining bone density isn't optional, it's a clear priority. Choosing cream cheese as your go-to cheese means you're spending your daily calorie budget on a food that offers little in return. Over time, this habit can contribute to weight gain and higher LDL cholesterol levels, all while giving you too little of what your bones and muscles truly need. What's more concerning is that many commercial cream cheese products, especially the low-fat or flavored versions, come loaded with additives. To achieve a creamy, uniform texture and prevent water separation, manufacturers often add thickening agents like carrageenan, guar gum, or xanthan gum. While generally considered safe in small amounts, studies have linked carrageenan to possible digestive inflammation in sensitive individuals. And flavored varieties often include added sugars, artificial flavors, and preservatives, turning what should be a simple food into a highly processed product. But this doesn't mean you need to give up cream cheese entirely. The solution here is a shift in perspective. See cream cheese for what it is, an occasional indulgence, an enjoyable treat in moderation, not a daily health staple. When you're spreading something on toast or bagels, consider more nutrient-dense alternatives, like cottage cheese, ricotta, mashed avocado, or nut butters. These options provide far more protein, healthy fats, and a richer nutritional profile without the empty calories. The bottom line? Don't confuse cream cheese with a daily dose of dairy nutrition. It's a comfort food, not a core food, and your body will thank you for treating it that way. Mistake number 9. Overusing feta. This next mistake might come as a surprise because it originates in one of the most widely celebrated and respected dietary patterns in the world, the Mediterranean diet. We're talking about feta cheese, the salty, crumbly star of Greek salads and so many other flavorful dishes. Its sharp, tangy flavor and satisfying texture make it a favorite in kitchens everywhere. And since it's part of the Mediterranean lifestyle, many people assume it must be good for you. And in some ways, it is. Traditional feta, made from sheep's milk or a mix of sheep and goat's milk, does offer protein, calcium, and even probiotics that support gut health. But it also hides a major issue, especially for older adults managing blood pressure and cardiovascular health: sodium. Feta is one of the saltiest cheeses on the market. That saltiness is no accident. It comes from the traditional brining process, where large blocks of feta are stored and aged in salt water for weeks or even months. This not only preserves the cheese, but also infuses it with its signature sharpness. However, that process turns feta into a genuine salt bomb. A single ounce of feta, roughly.
Mistake number 9. Overusing feta. This next mistake might come as a surprise because it originates in one of the most widely celebrated and respected dietary patterns in the world, the Mediterranean diet. We're talking about feta cheese, the salty, crumbly star of Greek salads and so many other flavorful dishes. Its sharp, tangy flavor and satisfying texture make it a favorite in kitchens everywhere. And since it's part of the Mediterranean lifestyle, many people assume it must be good for you. And in some ways it is. Traditional feta, made from sheep's milk or a mix of sheep and goat's milk, does offer protein, calcium, and even probiotics that support gut health. But it also hides a major issue, especially for older adults managing blood pressure and cardiovascular health: sodium. Feta is one of the saltiest cheeses on the market. That saltiness is no accident. It comes from the traditional brining process, where large blocks of feta are stored and aged in salt water for weeks or even months. This not only preserves the cheese, but also infuses it with its signature sharpness. However, that process turns feta into a genuine salt bomb. A single ounce of feta, roughly a thumb-sized chunk, can pack 315 to over 500 milligrams of sodium. To put that in perspective, that's 20 to 33% of the entire daily sodium limit recommended by the American Heart Association, roughly 1,500 milligrams per day for older adults or those with hypertension. And most of us don't stop at one small cube. It's easy to sprinkle on handfuls of crumbled feta across a salad, or layer it more generously in wraps, omelets, or baked dishes. Combine that with other salty ingredients, like olives or pickled cucumbers or salad dressings, and you've got yourself a meal that could push sodium levels into dangerous territory. Excess sodium raises fluid retention, increases blood volume, and places enormous pressure on your arteries. For people over 60, when blood vessels are less elastic and kidney function may have declined, this can directly contribute to high blood pressure, heart strain, and elevated risk of stroke, heart disease, and kidney damage. Regularly consuming large amounts of salty cheeses like feta can quietly undermine everything you're doing to protect your heart. But again, the solution isn't to ban it from your diet. The key lies in how you use it and how much of it. Start by thinking of feta not as a main ingredient, but as a garnish, a flavor enhancer, rather than a protein source. Use it to highlight a dish, not to fill it. Instead of cubing it in large chunks, sprinkle a small amount over your dish for the same satisfying taste with far less sodium. You can also soak blocks of feta in fresh water for 30 minutes before eating, a simple technique that helps remove some of the excess salt without sacrificing texture. And finally, if you do include feta in a meal, balance it out. Ensure everything else on your plate is low in sodium. Skip the extra salt in your seasoning and look for fresher whole food options to complement it. The takeaway? Even foods from the world's healthiest cuisines still need to be approached with personal context and moderation. Feta might be flavorful, but don't let that flavor fool you. Treat it like fine spice. A little goes a long way. Protect your heart and your blood pressure by enjoying cheese smartly, not just habitually.
Mistake number 8. Eating moldy cheese by simply cutting off the moldy part. This next mistake is surprisingly common, often driven by a sense of frugality or a simple misunderstanding about how mold behaves on food. It's the habit of keeping and eating cheese that has begun to show signs of mold by just cutting off the visible part and assuming the rest is still safe. Picture this. You open your fridge and take out a block of cheddar or perhaps a piece of soft brie, only to notice a small spot of white or green mold on the surface. The typical reaction? Grab a knife, cut away the moldy area generously, and eat the rest, telling yourself, it's only a little bit of mold, no big deal. But in reality, this is a risky gamble with your health. While it's true that some cheeses, such as blue cheeses like Roquefort or Gorgonzola, are made using intentional, safe strains of mold, the random molds that appear on your cheese in the fridge are another story entirely. What you see on the surface is just the tip of the iceberg. Molds are microorganisms that function like miniature plants, with root-like structures called hyphae that can penetrate deep into the cheese, especially if it's soft or moist. These roots often extend beyond what the naked eye can detect. So even though you've trimmed away the visible mold, it's likely that mold has already spread invisibly into other parts of the cheese. What's more concerning is that some molds produce mycotoxins, toxic byproducts that can be harmful or even carcinogenic. One of the most dangerous of these is aflatoxin, a compound known to compromise immune function and contribute to liver cancer. Dairy and cheese products contaminated with mycotoxins present a serious health risk, particularly when consumed by vulnerable populations. For older adults whose immune systems may be weaker,
and whose liver function may no longer be as efficient, consuming even trace amounts of mycotoxins can lead to serious reactions. These may include symptoms like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, or long-term damage such as chronic liver inflammation. So what's the safe approach? Thankfully, the USDA offers clear guidance. For hard or semi-hard cheeses such as Parmesan, Cheddar, or Swiss, if mold appears, you may cut at least 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters around and below the moldy spot. Be sure to keep the knife away from the mold itself so it doesn't contaminate the rest of the cheese. Then rewrap the remaining block in fresh, clean packaging. For soft cheeses such as cottage cheese, ricotta, cream cheese, shredded or sliced cheeses, if you notice any mold at all, discard the entire product. Due to higher moisture content, mold spores and their toxins can easily spread throughout, and no amount of trimming can make it safe again. The key lesson here is simple. Your health is worth more than a piece of cheese. Especially as we age, food safety must come before a desire to save expired items. When in doubt, follow the golden rule. If in doubt, throw it out. Mistake number 7. Eating cheese straight out of the fridge. This next mistake isn't dangerous, but it quietly robs you of the full potential of something wonderful. It's a habit driven by hurry, and one that almost everyone falls into. Eating cheese immediately after pulling it from the refrigerator. Let's imagine this. You've treated yourself to a beautiful aged cheddar, or a soft wheel of ripe brie. You take it out of the fridge, slice it, and take a bite. What you get is cold, firm, and perhaps a little salty, but it lacks the complexity or richness you expected. You might even wonder, why doesn't this expensive cheese taste as good as I imagined? The issue isn't with the cheese, it's with temperature. True artisanal high-quality cheese is a living, evolving food, built from hundreds of delicate flavor compounds, natural fats, and aromatic molecules. But all of those elements are highly sensitive to temperature. When cheese is stored at low refrigerator temperatures, approximately 4 degrees Celsius or 40 degrees Fahrenheit, its fat molecules become rigid, and its aromatic compounds go dormant. The result? Cold cheese can't release the aromas or flavors that define its character. Eating cheese cold is like trying to smell a flower that's been frozen. You can appreciate its form, but miss its soul. The texture also suffers. Cold cheese tends to feel waxy or stiff, and it doesn't melt or soften the way it should on your tongue. All the subtle flavor notes, nutty, grassy, fruity, even umami, are locked away, unreachable. In essence, you're paying for a deeply complex product, but only experiencing a fraction of its brilliance. So what's the solution? It takes only a little patience, but the reward is transformative. All it requires is to let the cheese rest and come to room temperature before eating. Follow the 30 to 60-minute rule. Depending on the size and type of cheese you're serving, let it sit out on a wooden board or plate for 30 to 60 minutes before eating. This allows fats to soften and aromas to bloom. The exact time can vary based on your room temperature and the cheese itself, but you'll soon develop an instinct for it. Watch the magic unfold. As your cheese comes to life, you'll notice a remarkable shift. The texture turns creamy, supple, even spreadable. The aromas become vibrant. That slice of aged Gouda might begin to whisper notes of caramel. The brie becomes velvety and almost buttery. You're no longer just eating, you're savoring. This small shift in habit changes the entire experience of cheese. It turns a quick bite into a moment of appreciation. The deeper message? To truly understand and respect something of quality, you must treat it accordingly. Give your cheese a bit of time after its long sleep in the fridge. Let it wake up. And in doing so, you'll discover a world of flavor that was always there, just waiting for you to slow down and taste it.
Mistake number 6. Throwing away cheese rind, wasting the soul of flavor. This next mistake stems from uncertainty and a widespread misunderstanding of how artisanal cheese is meant to be enjoyed. It's the habit of slicing off and discarding the rind of hard and semi-hard cheeses, believing it's nothing more than an inedible shell. When you hold a piece of aged Parmesan, Gruyere, or any well-aged cheese with a hard, rustic rind, your instinct might tell you to carefully trim it away and eat only the soft, creamy interior. We often assume the rind is like fruit skin, tough, tasteless, and best avoided. But in the world of traditional cheesemaking, the rind is far from waste. In fact, it's often one of the most essential and flavorful parts of the cheese, a layer that carries the soul of its aroma and structure. Rind forms naturally during the slow aging process, often over months or even years. It is shaped by the interaction of the cheese with air, salt, and, most importantly, the complex community of bacteria and molds that develop in the aging environment. The rind acts like protective armor, shielding the interior from drying out or becoming contaminated. But it does so much more. Over time, the enzymes and beneficial microbes living in the rind begin to break down proteins and fats, creating a spectrum of deep, nuanced flavors. These complex compounds gradually work their way inward. The cheese closest to the rind is often the most intense, earthy, nutty, or umami-rich section. So when you throw away the rind, you're discarding the most character-rich layer of the cheese. Most natural rinds on aged hard and semi-hard cheeses are not only edible, but delicious. The rind of Gruyere may taste subtly nutty. The rind of Comté can carry earthy mushroom notes. Even the tough rind of Parmesan contains a concentrated umami punch that chefs treasure. So how should we treat the rind? 1. Eat it when it makes sense. Rinds on cheeses like Brie, Camembert, Gruyere, and many washed rind cheeses are meant to be eaten. They are integral to the cheese's personality. Don't cut them away. 2. Use hard rinds in cooking. The rind of Parmesan, Parmigiano Reggiano, while too hard to bite into, should never be thrown out. It's an umami bomb. Drop it into soups, stews, or pasta sauces while cooking. It will infuse the dish with deep flavor. Simply remove it before serving. The transformation will speak for itself. 3. Know when to remove. Some rinds truly aren't edible, like waxed-coated Gouda, cloth-bound cheddars, or cheeses wrapped in leaves. In these cases, let packaging or store staff guide you and remove only the truly inedible outer layer. The lesson here? Change how you see the rind. It's not packaging, it's heritage, science, and artistry. It holds the memory of time, the signature of the cheesemaker, and the essence of the cheese's journey. By keeping and using it wisely, you not only reduce food waste, you elevate your tasting experience to something far more complete and rewarding.
Mistake number 5. Pairing cheese with the wrong companions. The next mistake isn't about the cheese itself, but what we commonly serve with it. It's a mistake of pairing, one that often turns a potentially healthy food into part of a far less nutritious meal. Think of a typical cheese platter at a party or casual gathering. A few beautiful slices of cheese, some crispy crackers, and an assortment of cured meats like salami, ham, or sausage. It's delicious. The richness of cheese, the crunch of the cracker, the salty punch of meat, an irresistible combination of taste and texture. But through a nutritional lens, especially for older adults, this combination reveals some serious concerns. Cheese alone can be a wholesome food, rich in protein, calcium, and healthy fats, but when paired with highly processed carbs and cured meats, we end up amplifying all the wrong elements: sodium, saturated fats, inflammatory oils, and empty calories. Let's talk about crackers first. Most conventional crackers, even those labeled as whole grain, are made from white refined flour, processed vegetable oils like soybean or palm oil, and added salt. They're essentially simple carbohydrates that spike blood sugar and offer very little nutritional value. They bring inflammation to the table, not balance. Now on to processed meats. Salami, ham, bacon, and sausage have been classified by the World Health Organization as Group 1 carcinogens, meaning there is direct evidence that they can increase cancer risk. These meats are also packed with sodium, saturated fats, and preservatives like nitrites, which are known to produce harmful compounds when cooked. They add heavy metabolic stress on the body, particularly on the heart, blood vessels, and kidneys. When you combine cheese, which already contains natural sodium and saturated fat, with these two food groups, you've created a cardiovascular time bomb. Elevated LDL cholesterol, rising blood pressure, and increased inflammation all follow, especially concerning for individuals over 60 with existing risk factors. So what's the smarter, more supportive pairing? Swap refined crackers for 100% whole grain bread, sliced sourdough, or seed-based crisp bread. These options offer fiber, minerals, and a slower rise in blood sugar. Pair with fresh fruits. Slices of apple, pear, grapes, or figs create a beautiful contrast to salty cheese. They add fiber, vitamin C, and potent antioxidants that support immune and heart health.
Mistake number 4. Eating cheese when you have a cold or excess mucus. This mistake is rooted in both traditional medical wisdom and practical experience. It's something many people overlook, but it can have a noticeable impact on how you feel when you're sick. It's the habit of eating cheese or other dairy products while you're dealing with a cold, flu, or mucus-related symptoms, such as congestion and a phlegmy cough. When you're under the weather, you may have little appetite and crave something easy, comforting, and quick. A slice of cheese, a cup of yogurt, or a warm glass of milk may seem like simple, nourishing options to boost your energy and protein intake. However, according to traditional Chinese medicine and many holistic approaches to healing, dairy, especially cheese, is considered a mucus-forming food, best avoided when the body is already producing excess phlegm. The exact biological mechanism is still being studied, but one widely accepted theory involves casein, the primary protein in milk. When broken down, casein can produce substances called casomorphins. In some individuals, these compounds may overstimulate goblet cells in the respiratory and digestive tracts, leading to increased mucus production. For a healthy person, this effect may not be noticeable. But when you already have inflamed sinuses, a congested chest, and heavy mucus flow, your body is already working hard to flush out viruses. Adding cheese to the mix is like pouring fuel on the fire. You may end up experiencing more nasal congestion and runny nose, a heavier feeling in the throat due to phlegm buildup, increased coughing and difficulty clearing your airways, general sluggishness, and a sense of heaviness in the body. Although large-scale clinical trials on this connection are limited, many functional medicine practitioners and nutritionists observe the pattern consistently, and many patients report faster relief from respiratory symptoms when they temporarily remove dairy products from their diets during an illness. So what's the solution? It's a simple but strategic shift during times of illness. Pause cheese and dairy products as soon as you feel congestion, sinus pressure, or an oncoming cold. That includes soft cheeses, yogurt, and milk. Focus on light, hydrating, and soothing options that help break down mucus and support healing. Think hot broths, vegetable soups, steamed greens, rice porridge, and plenty of warm fluids like ginger tea with lemon and honey. The key takeaway? Listen to your body and ancient wisdom. Cheese has its nourishing place in a healthy diet, but when your respiratory system is under stress, giving it a short break can offer real relief and promote faster recovery. Healing often requires knowing when to rest, not just yourself, but the foods you love.
Mistake number 3 is overheating cheese. This next mistake happens right in the kitchen, often with good intentions and great flavor in mind. It's the act of melting cheese at excessively high temperatures in search of that perfect golden brown, gooey, bubbling finish. We love the look of bubbling mozzarella on pizza, crispy melted cheese on lasagna, or the golden top of baked mac and cheese. It feels like culinary success. But when viewed through a nutritional lens, this method of cooking cheese can destroy its most valuable nutrients and even produce harmful compounds. Let's start with protein. Cheese is a source of high-quality protein, especially casein. But when exposed to temperatures above 150 to 170 degrees Celsius, 300 to 340 degrees Fahrenheit, these proteins undergo a harsh transformation. They denature, meaning their delicate structure unfolds and clumps tightly, turning tender cheese into a rubbery, hard-to-digest texture. This not only alters the mouthfeel, it also makes the protein less bioavailable to your body. The second concern is even more serious: fat oxidation. Cheese contains natural milk fats, but when these fats are exposed to high heat and oxygen, they begin to oxidize, breaking down into byproducts such as free radicals and unstable aldehydes. These compounds accelerate inflammation, oxidative stress, and cellular damage, key drivers of aging and chronic disease. That golden, crispy cheese on top of your dish, it's more than just caramelized. It's likely riddled with advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, molecules formed when proteins and sugars react at high heat. AGEs contribute to the stiffening of tissues, arterial hardening, and increased risk of cardiovascular and metabolic disorders, especially in people over 60. Finally, high heat can destroy heat-sensitive nutrients, such as certain B vitamins and beneficial probiotics found in some aged or fermented cheeses. In essence, you're stripping away the very nutrients you hope to benefit from just for the sake of a crispy finish. So what's the better approach? Add cheese at the end of cooking. For soups, omelets, or pasta dishes, cook the main ingredients fully first. Then turn off the heat or reduce it to low and stir in the cheese. Let it melt gently without burning. Use moderate oven temperatures. When baking dishes like pizza or lasagna, avoid using cheese at maximum broiling settings. Instead, bake with the cheese near the top layer uncovered for the last few minutes. You can even cover the dish most of the way with foil and only uncover at the end to lightly brown the top without scorching it. Choose melt-friendly cheeses. Softer, moisture-rich cheeses like mozzarella or fontina melt better at lower temperatures and don't require as much heat to develop flavor. The takeaway here is that heat is both a tool and a risk. Use it wisely. Respect the delicate nature of cheese, its enzymes, proteins, and natural fats, and you'll preserve both its taste and its nutritional power. Remember, not everything that's golden and bubbly is better. Sometimes gentle is the way to go, for cooking and for health.
Mistake number 2, buying pre-shredded cheese. Coming in at number 2 on our list of cheese mistakes is a product that has become a symbol of convenience in the modern kitchen, a so-called time-saving solution embraced by many home cooks. We're talking about pre-shredded cheese. Instead of buying a block and grating it by hand, it's tempting to toss a bag of ready shredded cheddar, mozzarella, or pizza blend into your shopping cart. It's quick, it's tidy, and it seems, at first glance, like you're simply buying the same cheese, just in a different form. But here's the part most shoppers never think about. That convenient bag of cheese comes with a hidden cost, one that affects flavor, nutrition, and even your digestive health. In order to keep all those delicate shreds from clumping, growing mold, or turning soggy in the bag, manufacturers add anti-caking agents and preservatives. The most common one? Cellulose, a plant-based fiber often made from wood pulp. Yes, you read that right. While cellulose is technically a natural ingredient, approved by the FDA, and considered safe because it's indigestible and therefore calorie-free, it adds no nutritional value whatsoever.
And when you're paying for cheese, you'd probably rather not be paying for powdered wood. But that's not the only concern. Some pre-shredded cheeses also include natamycin, a mold-inhibiting preservative. While useful in preventing spoilage, natamycin, like many food additives, may disrupt the delicate microbial balance in the gut when consumed regularly, particularly in older adults whose immune and digestive systems are already more vulnerable. Beyond additives, there's also the issue of oxidation. When cheese is grated and exposed to air, its surface area dramatically increases. This speeds up the oxidation process, making the fats in cheese degrade more quickly. The result? Off flavors, a stale or chemical taste, and a loss of the rich, nuanced aromas found in fresh block cheese. In short, pre-shredded cheese often tastes flat, even artificial, compared to freshly grated cheese. What you're really doing is trading quality for convenience. Less nutrition, worse texture, synthetic ingredients, and a shorter shelf life, all because you wanted to save a couple of minutes. So what's the better way? It's actually quite simple and deeply rewarding. Buy whole blocks of real cheese and grate them yourself just before you need them. Here's why that matters. Better flavor, richer aroma. Freshly grated cheese releases its full range of volatile compounds, producing a much stronger and more pleasant cheese aroma, one that's been locked inside the block until the moment you prep it. Purity and transparency. A real block of cheese contains only what you expect: milk, enzymes, salt. No cellulose, no preservatives, no unwanted fillers. Superior melting. Home-grated cheese melts more smoothly and beautifully because it doesn't contain anti-caking agents that interfere with the melting process. Maximized nutrition. You're getting 100% of the nutrition from actual cheese. No dilution, no degradation, no compromise. Taking 1 or 2 extra minutes to grate your own cheese is more than just a cooking step. It's an act of care. It's a quiet decision, one that honors the quality of what you feed your body. In a world that markets speed and ease, choosing freshness, transparency, and full flavor becomes a small but powerful way to prioritize health over hype, nourishment over shortcuts.
The worst cheese of all: American cheese and processed cheese products. Sitting firmly at number 1, and undeniably the most misleading imposter in the world of cheese, is a product that has become a symbol of fast food culture: the individually wrapped, bright orange, perfectly uniform slices that melt flawlessly over burgers and sandwiches around the world. Yes, we are talking about American cheese and its extended family of processed cheese products. Here's a truth that might surprise you, and one that absolutely matters for your health. By legal and technical definition, these are not real cheese. If you take a closer look at the label, really read what it says, you'll notice something curious. It doesn't simply say cheese. Instead, you'll find terms like pasteurized processed cheese food, or pasteurized processed cheese spread, or simply American slices. These wordy, carefully crafted labels are no accident. They're a legal admission by the manufacturers that what's inside does not meet the standards required to qualify as true cheese. According to FDA regulations, a product must contain at least 51% real cheese to even be called cheese. So what exactly is the other 49%? Processed cheese products are made by taking scraps of lower quality cheese, often unaged cheddar, Colby, or similar varieties, then melting them down and mixing them with a long list of additives. That mixture is blended, emulsified, colored, flavored, and reshaped, resulting in a shelf-stable food product that vaguely resembles cheese, but is something entirely different. Here's what you're often getting: non-cheese byproducts like whey protein concentrate, milk powders, or milk fat, used to mimic creaminess or stretch the volume. Emulsifiers, such as sodium citrate or potassium phosphate, that prevent fat separation and ensure a smooth, uniform melt. Vegetable oils, often soybean or palm oil, added to cut costs and boost fat content. Excess sodium. Just one thin American cheese slice can contain 20 to 25% of your recommended daily sodium intake. Artificial coloring. The signature orange hue doesn't come from grass-fed cows, but from additives like annatto or apocarotinol. Chemical preservatives, such as sorbic acid, that help the product last for months, sometimes years, without spoiling. What you're left with is not a wholesome cheese made through traditional aging and fermentation. It's a highly processed industrial creation, a cheese-like substance engineered in a lab for meltability, stretch, color, and long shelf life, not for nutrition. So what are you really consuming when you eat it? Not much calcium, not much real protein, but plenty of salt, inflammatory oils, chemical emulsifiers, and a blend of additives your digestive system has to work harder to process. Regular consumption of these products, especially among older adults, is linked to several health concerns. High sodium increases blood pressure, straining the heart and kidneys. Chemically modified fats and vegetable oils may raise LDL cholesterol. Synthetic emulsifiers and preservatives may disrupt gut microbiota, adding to digestive irritation and systemic inflammation. So what's the solution? It's simple, and it's clear. Avoid anything labeled processed cheese product, cheese food, cheese spread, or simply American cheese. Instead, learn to recognize and choose real cheeses made with simple traditional ingredients: milk, cultures, enzymes, and salt. Head over to the cheese counter and pick up authentic blocks of cheddar, provolone, Swiss, or Gruyere, then slice them yourself at home. You'll not only taste the difference, you'll feel it too. Because that small decision, choosing real over processed, quality over imitation, is a quiet but powerful act of self-respect. It's saying no to artificial convenience, and yes to authentic flavor, real nourishment, and better long-term health.
After identifying the imposters and less-than-ideal choices on the shelf, from calorie-dense cream cheese to salt-heavy feta to ultra-processed cheese slices, you might find yourself wondering, is it even worth eating cheese anymore? You might be tempted to think the safest option is to cut cheese out entirely, to protect your heart, your bones, and your long-term health. But this is exactly where I want to offer you a message filled with hope and flavor. The answer is no, you don't have to give up cheese. Giving up cheese completely would be a shame, because you'd be walking away from a world of rich, complex flavors and from a source of unique nutrition that only real cheese can offer. The solution isn't in giving up, it's in rediscovering cheese with intention. Rather than continuing to consume highly processed products, cheese-like items designed for cost, convenience, and long shelf life, it's time to reconnect with real cheese. Cheeses that have been crafted for centuries, even millennia, using traditional methods made from just 3 ingredients: milk, bacterial cultures, and salt. That's it. Pure, simple, and powerful. You have every opportunity to enjoy cheeses that don't just taste exquisite, they nourish you. There are cheeses made from the milk of pasture-raised cows, goats, or sheep, packed with omega-3s and vitamin K2, nutrients that support your heart and protect your bones. There are aged cheeses, where fermentation enhances flavor and introduces probiotics that support gut health. And then there are fresh cheeses with low sodium and high protein, giving your body strength without stressing your blood pressure. In the next section, we'll leave behind the risks and step into a celebration. We're shifting focus from worry to wisdom. Together, we'll become cheese connoisseurs in the best sense, Not snobs, but empowered eaters who know what to look for, what to avoid, and how to make cheese a trusted ally in a long, healthy life. We'll explore 4 cheeses considered nutritional treasures for healthy aging. Not only will you learn their names, you'll learn how to read labels, recognize true quality, and discover delicious ways to incorporate them into your meals. So don't be discouraged. Let this be the beginning of a comeback story. Your renewed love for cheese, now rooted in knowledge, awareness, and deep appreciation. With the right choices, cheese will no longer feel like a risk, but a delicious, reliable friend on your journey towards stronger bones, better heart health, and vibrant well-being. Let's begin now with the very first golden choice on our list.